The 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge was designed by Georg Luger and introduced in 1902 by the German weapons manufacturer Deutsche Waffen und Munitionsfabriken for the Luger semi-automatic pistol. For this reason, it is designated as the 9mm Luger by the SAAMI and the 9mm Luger by the C.I.P.Under STANAG 4090. It is a standard cartridge for NATO forces as well as many non-NATO countries. The name Parabellum is derived from the Latin si vis pacem, Parabellum, which was the motto of DWM. According to the 2006 edition of Cartridges of the World, the 9x19mm Parabellum is the world's most popular and widely used military handgun cartridge. Quote, in addition to being used by over 60% of police in the U.S., Newsweek credits 9x19mm Parabellum pistol sales with making semi-automatic pistols more popular than revolvers. The popularity of this cartridge can be attributed to the widely held conviction that it is effective in police and self-defense use. Its low cost and wide availability contribute to the caliber's continuing popularity. Origins. Georg Luger developed the 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge from his earlier 7.65x21mm Parabellum round, which itself was derived from the original 7.65x25mm Borchardt cartridge in the Borchardt C93 pistol. Shortening the length of the cartridge case used in the Borchardt pistol allowed him to improve the design of the toggle lock and to incorporate a smaller, angled grip. Luger's work on the Borchardt design evolved into the Luger pistol, first patented in 1898 and chambered in 7.65x21mm Parabellum. Demand for larger calibers in military sidearms led Luger to develop the 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge for his new pistol. This was achieved by removing the bottleneck shape of the 7.65x21mm Parabellum case, resulting in a tapered rimless cartridge encasing a bullet that was 9mm in diameter. In 1902, Luger presented the new round to the British Small Arms Committee as well as 3 prototype versions to the U.S. Army for testing at Springfield Arsenal in mid-1903. The Imperial German Navy adopted the cartridge in 1904 and in 1908 the German Army adopted it as well. The ogive of the bullet was slightly redesigned in the 1910s to improve feeding. To conserve lead during World War II in Germany, the lead core was replaced by an iron core encased with lead. This bullet, identified by a black bullet jacket, was designated as the 08Me. By 1944, the black jacket of the 08Me bullet was dropped and these bullets were produced with normal copper-colored jackets. Another wartime variation was designated the 08A bullet and identified by its dark gray jacket, and was created by compressing iron powder at high temperature into a solid material. Popularity. After World War I, acceptance of the 9x19mm Parabellum chambering increased, and 9x19mm Parabellum pistols and submachine guns were adopted by military and police uses in many countries. The 9x19mm Parabellum has become the most popular caliber for U.S. law enforcement agencies, primarily due to the availability of compact pistols with large magazine capacities that use the cartridge. Worldwide, the 9x19mm Parabellum is one of the more popular pistol cartridges where it is legal, and cartridges in this caliber are generally available anywhere pistol ammunition is sold. From the early 1980s to the mid-1990s, a sharp increase occurred in the popularity of semi-automatic pistols in the USA. Trend trend foreshadowed by the adoption of the Smith & Wesson Model 39 by the Illinois State Police in 1968. In addition, the Beretta M9 was adopted by the U.S. Army in 1985. Previously, most American police departments issued .38 special caliber revolvers with a 6-shot capacity. The .38 Special was preferred to other weapons such as variants of the M1911 because it offered low recoil, was small and light enough to accommodate different shooters, and was relatively inexpensive. The 9mm cartridge is ballistically superior to the .38 Special revolver cartridge, is shorter overall, and being an autoloader cartridge, it is stored in flat magazines, as opposed to cylindrical speed loaders. This, coupled with the advent of the so-called Wonder 9s, led to many U.S. police departments exchanging the revolvers for some form of 9mm semi-automatic handguns by the 1980s. In 2014, the FBI released a report detailing the potential combat effectiveness of the 9mm cartridge when compared to other calibers such as the .45 ACP and the .40 SAAMI cartridge that was specifically developed for use by the FBI. The report indicated that the new powders and more advanced bullet designs used in current 9mm defensive loads allowed for the caliber to deliver comparable performance to other calibers, like the .45 ACP and .40 SAAMI. In addition to this, the lower recoil, less wear, and higher capacity were all reasons that the report cited for the recent surge in orders of the ammunition from various police agencies, with a wider selection of officers being able to shoot handguns chambered in 9x19mm. Many departments choose this caliber so they can standardize around a single firearm and loading, making logistics and supply easier. Due to all of these factors, law enforcement orders of 9mm ammo from all major ammunition manufacturers have spiked dramatically. Cartridge dimensions. The 9x19mm Parabellum has 0.86 ml of cartridge case capacity. 9x19mm Parabellum maximum C.I.P. cartridge dimensions. All sizes are given in millimeters. The cartridge head spaces on the mouth of the case. The common rifling twist rate for this cartridge is 250 mm. 6 grooves. O lands equals 8.82 mm. O grooves equals 9.02 mm. Land width equals 2.49 mm, and the primer type is small pistol. According to Commission Internationale Permanente pour l'Approuvé des Armes, a few portatives rulings, the 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge case can handle up to 235.00 megapascals Pmax piezo pressure. In C.I.P. regulated countries, every pistol cartridge combination has to be proofed at 130% of this maximum C.I.P. pressure to certify for sale to consumers. This means that 9x19mm Parabellum chambered arms in C.I.P. regulated countries are currently proof tested at 305.50 megapascals P piezo pressure. The SAAMI pressure limit for the 9x19mm Parabellum is set at 241.32 megapascals piezo pressure. The SAAMI pressure limit for the 9x19mm Parabellum plus P is set at 265.45 megapascals piezo pressure. An empty case with primer weighs about 4 grams. Performance. The round was originally designed to be lethal to 50 meters, but the bullet travels and is lethal at longer ranges. The 9mm cartridge combines a flat trajectory with moderate recoil. According to the 1986 book Handloading, the modern science of wound ballistics has established beyond reasonable doubt that the 9mm cartridge is highly effective. Improvements and variations. In addition to the traditional pressure values for this cartridge, two main variants offer different pressure standards than the SAAMI C.I.P. requirements. 9mm Commonwealth standard. The cartridge S.A. ball 9 meters per meter mark was the standard Imperial 9mm Parabellum round in World War II and was produced from December 1941 to 1944. It was meant for use in semi-automatic pistols like the English Browning high power. Bullet weight was 115 grains. Velocity was 1,200 feet per second at 20 yards. It is noted by its purple annular surround as standard gold-colored primer. The higher-powered cartridge S.A. ball 9 meters per meter Mark IIZ was in production from September of 1943 until 1988, and was graded as NATO standard in 1962. It was designed for use in submachine guns such as the Lanchester, Sten, and Sterling. Bullet weight is 115 grains over a charge of 6 grains of DuPont Senior. 4,898 a dynamite Nobel Parabellum powder. Velocity is 1,300 feet per second at 20 yards. It can be distinguished from the 9mm ball Mk1Z by its purple annular surround, a silver primer. India and Pakistan manufactured 9mm Parabellum ammunition to this standard after independence. Canada's cartridge S.A. ball 9 meters per meter CDN Mark I, made since 1955, has similar ballistics. Bullet weight is 115 grains. Nominal muzzle velocity is 1,246.7 feet per second. NATO 9mm standard. The 9mm cartridge has been manufactured by or for more than 70 different countries and has become a standard pistol caliber for NATO and other military forces around the world. Its official nomenclature among NATO members is NATO 9mm. Standard bullet weight is 7.0 grams to 8.3 grams. NATO 9mm can be considered an overpressure variant of the 9x19mm Parabellum that is defined by NATO standards. The service pressure Pmax of the NATO 9mm is rated at 252 megapascals, where C.I.P. rates the 9mm Luger Pmax somewhat lower at 235 megapascals. The 315 megapascals proofing test pressure used in the NATO 9mm proof test, however, equals the proofing test pressure used in the 9mm Luger C.I.P. proof test. While the NATO standards do not specify the type of bullet to be used, Declaration 3 of the Hague Convention of 1899 prohibits the use of expanding ammunition in warfare by signatories. So official NATO 9mm ammunition is FMJ ball bullets. Declaration 3 does not apply in conflicts involving non-signatories to the Hague Convention, including paramilitary and other non-governmental fighting forces. Swedish M39 9mm Parabellum entered Swedish service as M39 with the import of the Karlsruhe pistol M39 from Austria, with a bullet weight of 7.5 grams. During the Congo crisis, the Swedish UN contingent issued complaints about the performance of the M39 cartridge used, which resulted in a commission of the Swedish Army establishing in 1962 that a new round was needed for the Carl Gustaf M45. The resulting M39B had a tombac-plaited steel jacket surrounding the lead core. While the lands of the barrel can cut into the tombac, the steel jacket resists deformation, thus causes the gas pressure to rise higher than the previous soft-jacketed M39, giving the 7.0 grams bullet a VIR 420 meters per second and an impact energy of 600 joules. The mantle also acts like a penetrator when striking a target, going through up to 50 layers of Kevlar 7 cm bricks or 25 cm of wood, allowing the bullet to defeat body armor up to Type III. The downside is the higher wear on the weapon, ultimately causing the service pistol M40 to be withdrawn from service. The M39 is also available as a gallery round Kamecha patron M39 black with blue tip for indoor gallery shooting, and as a blank round Los Patron M39 which has the metal bullet replaced with one in red, hard plastic intended to disintegrate into dust when fired. 9x19mm plus P variant attempts to improve ballistics of the cartridge came in the early 1990s with the widespread availability of high-pressure loadings of the 9mm cartridge. Such overpressure cartridges are labeled +P, or in the case of very high-pressure loadings, +P+. Ballistic performance of these rounds was moderately improved over the standard loadings. In addition, improvements in jacketed hollow-point bullet technology have produced bullet designs that are more likely to expand and less likely to fragment than earlier iterations, giving a 9mm bullet better terminal effectiveness. 9mm SAAMI. The United States military uses red and blue marking rounds in the 9mm caliber known as Special Effects Small Arms Marking Systems, commonly used for training simulations. These rounds are comparable in function to the paintballs used in paintball markers, except they are fired with a powder charge and can be shot in Beretta M9 service pistols with only a barrel modification. The 9mm SAAMI rounds are fired from specially modified pistols, as well as M16 and M4 rifles, which are incapable of chambering standard live ammunition. SAAMI weapons or components are normally painted blue or otherwise clearly marked, to denote their inert status and avoid a potentially catastrophic mix-up with live-fire weapons. This allows the armed forces to train with nearly identical equipment as used in real-life situations. The brand name for this ammunition, which is sold commercially and to law enforcement, is Munitionsfabriken. Russian military overpressure variants. The Russian military has developed specialized 9x19mm cartridges that use relatively light bullets at high muzzle velocities for both pistols and submachine guns to defeat body armor. Besides enhanced penetration capabilities, these overpressure variants offer a flatter trajectory and lessened recoil. The increase in service pressure causes a rise in bolt thrust, so the use of this overpressure ammunition induces more stress on critical weapon parts during firing. After initial research conducted since the late 1980s under the codename Grok, the Russian armed forces adopted two specialized 9x19mm variants. R50 at 25 meters means the closest 50% of the shot group will all be within a circle of 25mm radius at 25 meters. The 7N21 9x19mm overpressure variant features an armor-piercing bullet and generates a peak pressure of 280 megapascals. The 7N21 bullet features a hardened steel penetrator core enclosed by a bimetal jacket. The space between the core and jacket is filled with polyethylene, and the tip of the penetrator is exposed at the front of the bullet. To achieve better penetration, The penetration range for body armor is specified at up to 40 meters. The MP443 Grach and GSH-18 pistols and PP1901, PP90M1 and PP2000 submachine guns were designed for use with this overpressure cartridge. Jane's Infantry Weapons stated in 2003 that the 7N21 cartridge combines the 9x19mm Parabellum dimensions with a 9x21mm Gayurtse bullet design and was developed specifically for the penetration of body armor and for the MP443 Grach pistol. The latest Russian service pistol, the 7N31 PBP 9x19mm overpressure variant, uses the same concept with a similar but lighter bullet that achieves higher muzzle velocity. The penetration of an 18mm thick steel plate is specified at up to 10 meters. The 7N31 cartridge was developed in the late 1990s for the GSH-18 pistol. The 7N31 was adopted for the PP90M1 and PP2000 submachine guns. Its maximum service pressure remains unclear. The method of construction of the two rounds allows them to be effective against both unarmored and armored targets. If the bullet strikes an unarmored target, it holds together to produce a wide wound channel. If the bullet strikes an armored target, the sleeve is stripped away and the core penetrates alone. The disadvantage of the rounds is that high impact velocities are needed for them to work effectively, so the bullets are relatively light to maximize the muzzle velocity. This means they lose velocity relatively quickly, limiting their effective range. 9mm Major. The 9mm Major is a term common among handloaders in International Practical Shooting Confederation and United States Practical Shooting Association competitions in the open division. It describes a 9x19mm loaded to reach or surpass the major power factor in those competitions, something that very few commercial self-defense loads do. Such loads are only rarely within the limits defined by SAAMI or C.I.P., exceeding even plus P loads. The 124 grains projectiles are pushed beyond 1,331 feet per second to meet US PSA power factor. Usually, they are loaded with relatively large charges of a low-volume, slow-burning powder such as HS6 and Autocomp. Sometimes they are made longer than standard DAL to allow more capacity with heavier bullets. Since they can be used with common 9x19 brass, they are considered a more economical alternative to .38 Super. Other variants. VBRB produces specialized bullets for this cartridge, a two-part controlled fragmenting projectile and an armor-piercing bullet that features a brass sabot and a hardened steel penetrator. These are designed for increasing the content of the permanent wound cavity and double the chance to hit a vital organ. US data. The energy delivered by most 9mm loads allows for significant expansion and penetration with premium hollow point bullets. Illinois State Police, Border Patrol, Federal Air Marshals, and United States Secret Service favored and used 115 GR plus P plus 9mm loads at 1,300 feet per second for years with excellent results. Masad Ayub has stated that the tried, tested, and true 115 GR plus P plus is the best self-defense load in this caliber. Proponents of the hydrostatic shock theory contend that the energy of the 9mm cartridge is capable of imparting remote wounding effects known as hydrostatic shock in human-sized living targets. The table below shows common performance parameters for several 9x19 mm loads. Bullet weights ranging from 115 to 147 g are common. Loads are available with energies from just over 400 J to 680 J, and penetration depths from 200 mm to over 1.0 meters are available for various applications and risk assessments. Key: expansion, expanded bullet diameter; penetration, penetration depth; PC, permanent cavity volume; TSC, temporary stretch cavity volume. Synonyms: 9x19, 9 mm, 9 mm Luger, 9 mm NATO, 9x19 mm, 9 mil, 9x19 mm NATO, 9 mm Parabellum, 9 mm Para, 9 mm P.